Welcome back to another live episode of Dynasty Theory. I'm John Bauer. Find me on X at the Bauer Club. We are joined by Dan Lamagna at Coach Dan Dynasty and Mitch Sorensen at Dino MC. This is a very specific episode. It is completely tailored and focused on Malik Nabers. We don't typically do this, but the Discord community, every trade scenario, every trade question has been centered around Malik Nabers. So we wanted to focus on that. And I had folks drop comments in the live chat going back to yesterday. Didn't realize that they delete after a certain amount of time because I am the dummy that I am. So we're going to get through as many situations and scenarios as we can. And we're going to be looking at this several different ways, obviously. Are we contending? Are we rebuilding? What is our overall roster construction? What specific scenarios would we be looking to attack and potentially bring a player like Malik Nabers onto our roster? Where does it make sense? Where doesn't? Things like that. Like, we talk about things all the time like this. And Mitch, everybody, it's buy low on this player, buy high on this player, sell high, whatever the case may be. But as we know in Dynasty Fantasy Football, there is so much gray area. So when you look at these high profile players, Mitch, they go down, they miss significant time. Malik Nabers out the rest of the 2025 season, the torn ACL. How likely are you, if you are a contending team, to trade him at a discount? And what does that discount look like?
He's gone. On a contending team, he's gone. And it's because the great thing about these wide receivers, it doesn't work as well with Dynasty running backs, but Dynasty wide receivers, the upper tier, people still love them no matter if they produce, if they don't produce. If we love them going to the season, we continue to love them pretty much. And I'm talking about the elites of the elites, Malik Nabers, Jamar Chases, these guys. So for me, I'm 100% willing to move it because I've seen the prices that people are willing to pay for Malik Nabers, and I'm happy to move them for those prices that we'll talk about throughout the show today.
Dan, what does your personal rostership of Malik Nabers look like as it stands today?
Man, this is like a cheat question for listeners because JB knows this answer. It is a big goose egg, a donut, but I've had number one receivers go down before. And Mitch, I like that you said for the price that people were paying for him. Because when you say he's gone, this episode tonight forced me to really dig into my wide receiver rankings, and compared to how I felt going into this season to now, it's not as pretty now. Like I'm torn. I'm distraught if I lost Malik Nabers. So even though I have 0 shares, JB, I feel I have a lot of empathy for our listeners.
Well, yeah, and these situations come up, whether it is a specific player that suffers an injury, whether it is their high-profile quarterback that suffers an injury. Looking at you, Jamar Chase, there are situations. Justin Jefferson. There are situations that come up where these high-end insulated dynasty assets go down, and there is still a tremendous market. Whereas the tight end position, outside of the first couple anyway, there's really no market, there's no interest. And then at the running back position, because of how volatile it is, like, God forbid, knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But if Bijan Robinson were to go down today, that market looks significantly different than what a Malik Nabers market looks like today, whenever you consider their baseline. Mitch, have you acquired Malik Nabers at all since the injury?
I'm trying to think. I've made so many trades this week. No, I have not picked up any Malik. I have tried. But the people who I have tried, because I'm doing it on rebuilding teams. If I'm contending, I'm not really looking to move my pieces for him at the moment. So I'm on a rebuilding team, and the people that I'm trying to trade with are still contending, and they're expecting to still get that tier 1 price back. Right. And I can't get there. I'm willing to buy him for a discount. It doesn't even need to be a big discount, but there's no reason for me to kind of help out another team, especially if I have that team's first already, which is the case in a couple leagues. Like, I'm going to go bail them out with some better players so I can have Malik for next year, because I love Malik, but there's 12 wide receivers in the league right now that I absolutely love, that I would love to be the cornerstone of my team.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And there are managers like this. And I was thinking about this earlier today, where if you have a high-end quarterback or a high-end wide receiver and they go down and they miss significant time, they don't look to move them. It doesn't matter. Like, they might be a contender, but what they do, and I'm not knocking this because this is the way I look to do it ideally. What they do is backfill the position with other assets. If they have a surplus at one position or the other, they can then backfill the wide receiver position. Now we're seeing an interesting dynamic because not only do people have Malik Nabers that might, is out, maybe they had Tyreek Hill. I have one specific roster that I had the duo. So whenever I look at that, you have two players that I was counting on for production. I went out and I made a move to acquire other wide receivers while still hanging on to Malik Nabers in that specific situation. So it's an interesting dynamic because while there should be, intuitively speaking, there should be a discount because that contender no longer has access to those points right now. But the way they tend to look at it is if you're in a startup today and you don't care about the 25 season, what is Malik Nabers' value? It's not going to change from where it was in startups this last offseason, right?
Yep.
And that's the value they still need. So to your point, Mitch, there's no point in bailing them out. There's no point in paying 100% face value for an asset that, maybe the market opens up a little bit as the season goes on because they are forced to move him. But right now, that's not something I'd be looking to do.
Real quick, Dan, before you jump, I'm just going to go over the top 15 wide receivers, just so everyone, maybe people haven't looked up the stats recently. So this is average points per game, PPR over the first 4 weeks. I'm just going to give you the top 15 guys. It's kind of crazy so far. So yeah, Puka, Amon-Ra, Rome, Quentin Johnston, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Egbuka, Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel, Trey Tucker, Cortland Sutton, Michael Pittman, Devontae Adams, Jordan Addison's up there because of the one game. And then you start to get into Justin Jefferson, Metcalf, Jamar Chase. So about 5-6 of those names are names coming into the season were like, you know what? We think these guys can end up being top 12 guys. And the other 10 were like, well, I mean, we're happy they're up there, but we weren't expecting it. So the reason why I just wanted to bring that up is there's multiple players you could trade for, but even the elites of the elites aren't working out great so far yet this season. And so it's when you have a Nabers and you're trying to trade for some other pieces, Ladd McConkey's a good one. I mean, Dan, you love him as much as I do. I don't know what the hell to do with Ladd McConkey right now because no one's paying the price for him. I could barely start him on my fantasy teams. I'm not willing to move him off at a discount, but he's nowhere near getting mentioned around what Trey Tucker is producing weekly. And I don't see it changing for players like that.
Yeah, not to get into Ladd McConkey, but I mean, he's not startable right now.
Yeah.
Like there are so many other, sure, you can throw him in your lineup, but you're not getting anywhere close to the production that we were expecting. And you can backfill with certainly lesser assets from a dynasty perspective that are going to give you the production. So Dan, you have the goose egg, as you said right now. You have no Malik Nabers. What is your ideal roster construction? Not, I'm rebuilding or I'm contending, but the way that you've built your roster, what is the ideal construction and the way that you would then look to go about acquiring a Nabers? Let's say you could get him at 90% face value.
Yeah, so the ideal roster construction is the majority of my rosters have an elite receiver. If I'm lucky, I have 2 elite receivers or elite and maybe, Mitch put a little next tier of really, kind of studs, but not quite in that elite class. It's not that I didn't love Nabers going into this year. I got a few best ball shares, so maybe I have some investment there, somewhere, JB. But, I'm a Homer Cowboy fan, so a lot of those elite receivers are CD Lamb, full disclosure. If I don't have Lamb, I've got a Brian Thomas, the Marvin Harrisons. I tried to invest a little more on Rome with his upside this year. So the reason I don't have any shares is I just happen to have a different elite receiver. And you guys know I'm pretty aggressive in trading my draft picks to make my rosters more contenders than non-contenders. So I didn't have a lot of draft capital at the time. Nabers was a top pick. So if I have Nabers and my rosters are constructed that way, I would look to move Nabers, and I'm looking at the top, what I consider my top 14 receivers. Now, not the top 14 that Mitch named tonight, because Mitch is looking at production this year. That was those 14. Obviously, a Davante Adams isn't going to maintain top 14 for X amount of years. Nabers is a guy we're going to have 10 to 15 years. So
15 years.
We're expanding him.
A young elite receiver that's only in the infancy of his career now. Nabers is in his infancy of his career. We're expecting a good decade of him. Okay, maybe I stretch that a little more, but so I've got to replace that somehow. And to replace that, I have 14 guys I'd be interested in replacing that with. Or if I go beyond my top 14, it's got to be someone probably in my top 14 to 24 plus, plus draft capital, plus another guy. And it's sad, Mitch, but you mentioned Ladd McConkey. He's in that next tier right now because he's a guy that's even attached to Herbert. I can't even give a quarterback or a bad offense excuse for him. They have some O-line struggles that may have a little something to do with it. But so JB, I don't know if I answered that question directly, but I've got to have an elite receiver, and I'm building most of my rosters with an elite receiver before even a elite running back. A little bit based on longevity, and I'd rather build that way.
Yeah, I'm going through a lot of my rosters, and this, like I said, it presents an opportunity. If there's somebody that kind of goes studs and duds at the wide receiver position, they had Nabers, or if there's somebody that doesn't roster a lot of wide receivers and they gravitate more towards the quarterbacks and running backs, which I know, I have rosters that are like that. I know a lot within the DD fantasy football community. They build the rosters like that. So this presents an opportunity where you might be able to get that Nabers for a couple veterans that are producing, but might also be able to sustain something beyond 2025. So that kind of leads me into this next question here. Mitch, you're a contender and you have Nabers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How selective are you whenever it comes to the type of assets that you want in return? Like you went through the list there.
Yep.
You're getting a lot of production from Quentin Johnston and Davante Adams, but how gross does that sound and look from a dynasty perspective? Hey, I just moved Malik Nabers for Quentin Johnston and Davante Adams. Like what types of assets overall are you looking for? Is it more insulation? Is it more production? Is it a combo? Does it depend?
So I always feel like I could find wide receivers to start. So what I have been doing, and John, you and I were DMing about this today, is I'm trying to, if Amarion Hampton is there, if he is on a rebuilding team, I know he's young, but dynasty managers just fall in love with these wide receivers. Like they just, they have to have them more than running backs. So getting a Hampton plus a piece on top for a Nabers, which I have seen happen, and I've seen you move him straight up for Hampton, John. That's the kind of thing I'm going for, because there's not a lot of running backs that I love for the next 3, 4, 5 years in the NFL right now. Hampton is a guy that we've loved throughout the whole process, love this whole season, love everything about him. And then because my problem is I go to wide receivers. I'm like, well, I would like a Nico. I'm not getting a Nico. I want to get an Igbuka. I'm probably not getting Igbuka. And
well, so here's the thing. I offered, so I've had a little bit of a back and forth with the manager, and based on his last response, I offered my Nico for his Malik Nabers straight up. The team is complete butt. My team is complete butt. But a lot of butts here. But Nico Collins, like, is he really giving you like difference making production? Plus he's 3 years or 4 years older than Malik Nabers. So that was a trade-off that I was certainly okay doing there because of the context of my team. And I'm still waiting for the gentleman to accept, even though he said he would do that. So I don't mean to interrupt, but I actually am okay moving a Nico for Malik Nabers just because it doesn't seem to matter what Nico Collins does. That value really is never there.
That's fair.
And I love Nico, Frank. This is not a knock on Nico at all. But in the context of this situation, it's something that works for my team. And we know Malik Nabers, like, we want to say these assets have insulated value, but people are already looking to dump them. And there's some interesting trades going on. And Mitch, you said, rebuilding teams don't look to young running backs. They love these wide receivers, but the minute they get hurt, people are looking to dump them.
Yeah, it's true.
I think a key point is Mitch was kind of tiering guys he would want, whether he would get them or not. I think it depends on the league. Some guys you wouldn't. And Nico, you gave a good example, John. But, in life, I work with students at Lackawanna College, or I'm working with kids all the time, and I'll give advice. And, hey, in life, we say never have any regrets, right? Because it's a journey. We learn from our life lessons. But in fantasy football, you don't want to have regrets. It's not like life. You do not want to get stuck with, those older aging guys that aren't going to be the same. So I think you have to not treat this neighbor situation like life, and make sure you land with, I think somebody Mitch is alluding, you want to land in those tiers. It's my sage advice for this evening.
Wow. I feel so much wiser having heard that. So Mitch, I realize I cut you off there once you mentioned Nico Collins. Was there anything else there?
No, you're good. I was just saying you could go down the list, and there's guys to where I am happy trading him for, but we always talk about the league market. Sometimes that market's just not there. So there's a point to where you're on a contender. I'm not going to move him just to move him. So if you're telling me I'm going to get Garrett Wilson was brought up a ton today.
Straight up. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, you would have, for me to move my Neighbors for Garrett Wilson, you're going to have to add a first. I watched that offense yesterday. Garrett Wilson is a stud. I love him as a wide receiver. I don't love another thing on that offense outside of Breece Hall. Like, that was one of the worst games I've sat through in a long time. And Garrett Wilson's awesome. I think he is definitely a top 12 wide receiver in the league. I'm just not going to buy into that offense. And so that's kind of what I'm saying, as to where I'm not going to sell just to sell. I want to have guys that I believe in as well, and believe in their offensive structure too.
Wow. The offensive structure is a key piece there. Sorry, JB, there's a little silence there before you segued, so I was trying to fill.
Fill it.
Just quickly, I think, like, to Mitch's point, like, and this was the Giants before Dart gave a little bit of hope. Like, there are certain teams, man, you watch those games and it is painful. So I think when we look at these wide receiver situations, it's, hey, what is that offense? And I try not to look at, hey, just a 4-week sample. Oh, Mitch, you're liking that too much there with Frank's love there.
We're just going to leave this up for the rest of the show.
JB, override that, overrule it. No, but I mean, I don't want to get stuck on a 4-week sample, but I like to project ahead too. We'll see what situations could potentially change in a year, but I don't want to get stuck with a bad quarterback situation too long.
Man, I am ready for the Christmas season, but not quite yet. Let's not get through Halloween. I'm looking at my targeted ads here on Keep Trade Cut. So I'm bringing this up because, Anavino baby, you got to have that silky smooth skin. So there were a lot of trade scenarios and a lot of questions that came up, and it was like Malik Nabers for a wide receiver and a second, Malik Nabers for a wide receiver and a first. So we don't have to go through specific trade questions there. Mitch, let's pretend like what we're seeing on KTC is like, that's just our rankings. Let's just say it for the sake of ease here. Which wide receiver do you draw the line here where you would move Malik Nabers for that wide receiver and a 2027 second, let's say 12 by 11. All right. 12 by 11, PPR, tight end premium, super flex, just to give complete context there. And your wide receiver room, like you need a producer. Okay.
All right. Okay. So for anyone not watching on YouTube, if anyone's on the podcast feed, so pretty much there's the tier of everyone that we know. And then it gets to Garrett Wilson, Ladd McConkey, Rashee Rice, and John keeps changing it so I can't read it anymore. But you're getting into those kind of guys, Marvin Harrison, AJ Brown, Zay Flowers. You're going to have to add a very big piece for me to move them. The only one that's a caveat for me is Rashee Rice, because I think when he comes back, he's going to be amazing. So he is someone I'm not moving straight up, just a smaller piece. But the rest of the guys, I really like. Well, excited. Tet. I mean, I love T-Mac. T-Mac is awesome, but I would need a plus with him as well. But I mean, you're talking about all the other guys from Rome, JSN, Amon-Ra, all those guys all the way up. Yeah, you're going to have to. I'd be more than happy to move, but you're not getting most of those guys straight up anyways.
Okay, so Mitch, you would move Nabers as a team that needs a producer.
Mm-hmm.
You would move him for JSN.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Straight up. You would move him for Igbuka straight up.
Yeah.
Roma Dunze.
It's a bear. I'll say yes, but you know me. You know
Is this where you need the 27-second kicked in?
No, I would probably do. If I'm on a contending team, I'm okay doing it for him. Good doing it for Drake. Good doing it for Nico. T-Mac is kind of where I draw the line, because that's more boosted by him being a rookie and pretty good, more so than he's helping your team.
Producer.
Yeah.
So I think Mitch set a good threshold there, because those names he picked to me fall under that category as I won't have any regrets next year. Right? Even if Nabers is a little, like, once Nabers is back and healthy and you're missing him, because you're going to miss him when this guy's back to being Malik Nabers, but you still have you have that receiver that helped you win, hopefully helped you win and cash this year, because that's what we play for, right? We want to win, but you're still with an elite receiver next year, whether he's either going to help you win or maybe it's a tool in another trade, whatever it may be.
All right, so we're going through here. So is it?
And you could argue a few of those guys, right?
So T-Mac, Brian Thomas, Garrett Wilson, like Ladd is another tricky one. Like the value, that's not even a real value, I feel like.
No, you should see the offers I've got for him today. I mean, they're not great. Not great at all.
Yeah, let's go over to Fantasy Calc. And I do think Ladd is going to have similar value here. But again, that volume wide receiver 17, again, that's like, yeah, he's wide receiver 17. It's based on real trades, but we're not seeing that many trades most likely. So it's a very interesting situation. Like, but Mitch, what if I say, okay, you need a producer, you need 15 years with Nabers. Count is a little behind. So
he'll catch up.
Come on, man. I love that. But there is that point where it's like you need a producer. You could backfill the position elsewhere, but maybe you could get T-Mac plus a first. Then you're certainly doing it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you're getting that first, I mean, if you're getting a first added, I'll go really far down that list as far as you could go
AJ Brown in the first.
Not AJ Brown, because of that Eagles offense is god awful. So here's no joke. Xavier Worthy and a first, I would definitely consider it.
Now does it matter if that's a probable playoff 26 or 27?
That's the thing, right? I mean, if it's a late first, I'm probably not doing it. If I think it could be the 106, I am doing it. But yeah, I would do it for Worthy. Yep.
And I'm not saying I necessarily disagree. I talked about doing Quentin Johnston in a 27 first, and I would be okay with that.
No, I'm not doing
even 108, yeah. Mitch. We're landing elite guys, so look where Igbuka went this year. He slid in a ton of drafts to late first, sometimes even early second. So you get a guy like Worthy. I have no regrets having Worthy for next year, but that first just gives some insulated value where if something happens, you could end up with two studs there.
All right, so this is from Reggie over on X. Just got offered Malik Nabers for Xavier Worthy and Jordan Addison. I mean, in a bubble, I'm taking Nabers there.
Same. It all depends on the team makeup, right? I mean, but I'm just not a huge Jordan Addison guy. But if you tell me that's the 109, which is pretty close to Jordan Addison's value anyways, then I'm probably taking Worthy in the pick. But it's how you feel about the specific players in that one.
Just pulling up my cross-positional tiers. Oh, how did that get up there?
When did you get all fancy with that green up arrow? That's new, right?
That was a request because I guess initially every arrow was red. I'm going to be honest. I have red-green color blindness.
Oh.
So it's something that I don't like to talk about, but I'm going to be brave here live on the air and talk about it. But I called Mara in when I was fixing the arrows and I go, do these green arrows look good? And she said, those are red. So that worked out
funny.
extremely well. But Reggie, I'm going Neighbors there. Let's see here.
I think it depends on JB too, roster construction. Like, how much does Jordan Addison really help you? Could you get by without it? But I'm with you on Neighbors.
From Nate in a 12x11 Superflex PPR, 1.5 PPR for running backs. Sent Neighbors and Ayuk for Worthy and James Cook.
Love that.
I don't hate that one.
I like that one a lot. James Cook is far exceeding my expectations of him this year. Dude's been a flat stud.
All right,
Agreed.
so now I want to play a game here, Mitch. We're kind of going off the rails a little bit in terms of the show notes, but at what point, I hate you. At what point would you trade Neighbors for back-to-back receivers on this fantasy calc list? So would you trade Neighbors for?
It's right where you are. I mean, it's
okay.
Take Travis Hunter out of there because I'm not trading for him on any team ever.
Okay.
Xavier Worthy, Worthy and Metcalf, I would do that. Pearsall and Worthy,
really?
I would do that. Yeah.
See, now that when we get to this range, if those are the pair of wide receivers I'm getting, like, I think it's a situation where if I have any other ammunition to plug and play to find stopgap options, I would do that than I would rather, I think, move my playoff 26 first for Devontae Adams than go the route of Neighbors for a pair in this.
You
range.
didn't give me that option. You said I had to choose.
He makes the rules as he goes, Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to say
I'm moving the
I will take
goalpost.
Ladd McConkey and AJ Brown. That just isn't going to happen. But to your point, John, that's why I was bringing up Omarion Hampton to start off, Henderson to start. If you could get those running backs and then get a worse wide receiver coming back, Terry McLaurin, something like that back with one of those younger backs, I think that's far easier to achieve than trying to get another one of these really, really, really good wide receivers.
Would you just said Terry, so let's keep him in there. Would you trade away Malik Nabers for Marvin Harrison and Terry McLaurin?
Yeah.
You would. Okay.
Dan?
Yeah, I'm bullish on Marv more than others. I know there's some mixed sentiment in the chat, but
I don't know if it's that mixed. I think it's pretty one-sided.
He looked good. It's not his fault. Kyler sucks.
That's the issue. I think
that
at some
could change
point
next year.
Yeah, and even if Kyler or an offensive coordinator change, Marv's just too good to hold down, man.
All right, so looking at the, what players would you want the first with? What players would you want the second with? But Mitch, you said it. There were so many. Would you do Malik Nabers for London?
Mm-hmm.
Malik Nabers for Garrett Wilson? And it came up over and over again. And we see these overreactions, underreactions, as soon as news breaks, as soon as something changes, especially when it's a higher profile player, we see the wide range. And then as it settles down, as time progresses, the value, it narrows in. So right now on Fantasy Calc, Dan, I was waiting for you to get situated over there. You good?
I'm good, yeah.
All right. As we get, it narrows down a little bit. So right now, Malik Nabers on Fantasy Calc is wide receiver 6. He is 13th overall across all the positions. In 2 weeks, where does that settle? Do you think he stays around that wide receiver 6 mark?
He should. I mean, if we're assuming, hey, he's going to just fall back there next year.
Right.
I mean, that's like when we do our rankings over next year, Mitch, I see you nodding a little bit, but isn't Neighbors going to be in your top 6 next year, Mitch?
I thought we're saying in 2 weeks.
But right. So that's what we're talking about. No. So I said in 2 weeks, where's his value? But
yeah,
that's the point I was making earlier, and it kind of worked out perfectly where some people, they look at it with these high-end young assets. What's their startup value going to be this offseason? Okay, that is my value. It's not changing. We're going to see, and Scardy, always appreciate you, man.
About where I am. Yep.
He says wide receiver 9 or 10. I think that's fair.
Yep.
That's fair. Like, depending on what Nico Collins does, if he gives you a little bit more production, I think we see a flip there. Same with London, same with Rome. I know some people are a little hesitant with Rome because of the high touchdown rate. Same with Igbuka. I think there's going to be, an opportunity there where that gets flipped. So depending on how these other pieces do, I think we could see maybe 11 or 12. Is that an overreaction? Well, in 3 months, it certainly will look like it. But we can't ignore the immediate impact and the production that you're missing out on. But then it keeps going in the circle. It goes back to, well, get a veteran by moving other pieces instead of moving Malik.
Yeah. And I could definitely see, like you mentioned, some receivers that could bump up there and maybe to that point of Nabers being 9-10. I mean, the one question I still have lingering with the Giants, so let's just say he comes back super healthy next year. As exciting as it was to see like a spark for the Giants and Jackson Dart, he was still only 13 for 20 for 111 yards this week. Hey, maybe Nabers goes out and, does he have the firepower? But I still have quarterback questions in New York.
I have stadium questions in New York, man. Like, just knowing he has to play there for the next 5 years doesn't make me feel good. I know it's silly to say, but that field it's not great.
A lot of issues.
I mean, there's a lot more talk around the turf and the issues of practicing and playing 7 days a week on the turf, and then multiply it by 2 because you have the Jets and Giants that play there. That is a lot of wear and tear on that surface.
All right, Mitch, you're a rebuilder.
Mm-hmm.
You're tanking this season. You have Malik Nabers. Do nothing.
I put him on my IR, and I'm happy
Just
to take that 0. Yep.
So something I saw, there was actually a 3-way trade, and I it was in the Discord, but something that I saw that was interesting was one of the trade partners in there. They moved picks for Nabers. And I thought that was an interesting dynamic because you're not going to see that too often, where it is an injured high-end asset that, again, presumably is going to return back to where he was for dynasty purposes in 3 months here, once the season's over, for picks. Like, does that... Isn't that interesting? Or is that just me thinking it's interesting?
Yeah. It's interesting.
Because I wouldn't think I would. I wouldn't. No, especially with, we see the range of these picks, and like, as long as it's not presumably like the 26-101 and 27-101, like that would be a smash. Think about that. Getting a first round startup pick for 2 future firsts. That's crazy to me. Like you wouldn't see that for Burrow, and he's out for the rest of the season. So just stay the course if you have him. If you're a rebuilder and you don't have Malik Nabers, all right, Dan. So I know you have super rosters everywhere, but you already said you don't have Malik Nabers anywhere. So you're a rebuilding team. You're middle of the pack. You're like, I got to blow this up, even though you like to hang on to that very last moment. I know how you are. And a rebuilding team has Nabers. So you're rebuilding. A rebuilding team has Nabers. Do you kick the tires? Do you explore? Do you think there's an opportunity there at all?
So if I'm rebuilding and I have Nabers?
No.
Or I'm rebuilding, do I explore getting Nabers?
No.
Okay,
you are a rebuilder.
I wanted to make sure I understood you, and obviously I didn't.
Other team is also rebuilding. Are you even bothering to send an offer?
No, because they shouldn't want to get rid of Nabers. I mean, again, hey, could you try? Sure. But you're in the same boat. So, and again, not all my teams are contenders. I was breaking it down today. I've got like 10 teams I'm in love with. I've got 11 bubble teams that could go either way. I've got 3 teams in grave danger that, maybe to your point, JB, I better not hold on as long as I often do. So So I got a few teams that I would like to get Malik Nabers on.
And it's interesting, and it went the other way. I had somebody reach out to me. I'm 7-1. We have the game against the Median. I think they were 7-1 or 8-0. And I said, hey, Neighbors on the block, let me know if you're interested. And they reached out to me and said, I'm interested. I said, I don't think this is going to work. So I sent an offer just to send an offer. And they were like, yeah, I have no depth. I just wanted to try.
Yep.
So
honestly, I do that a lot. There's a lot of times to where in trade discussions, I'll be like, look, I'm just throwing something up to see if it works. If there's anything close, let me know. And a lot of times it's like, no, there's nothing close. It's like, all right, I'm cool with that. But I think that's a great way to open up discussions with everybody. I mean, just let everybody know, hey, I'm willing to make it work. A lot of times it doesn't work out, but as long as you have those good trade discussions with other managers, I think it helps you out a ton moving forward.
And here's a great point from Jackson. What if they think they're a contender? Those people
are the best.
But most people don't know how to pick a lane. So while they might I think we're putting on our hat here saying that this manager knows what's best for their team. They have their picks. They have other people's picks. They have a lot of youth. They're 0-4 or 0-8 if you're playing against the Median as well. That's the kind of situation I'm saying here when they're a rebuilder. But let's say they're 1-3. They don't have their future picks. Yep. Their team kind of is rubbish. Maybe I think that could be a situation where you do explore, hey, you're 1-3, I'm 0-4, but it looks like you might be looking to contend, even though you shouldn't be. But now you're not in a position because you also don't have your future picks. So that could be something that could be interesting there. So you're a rebuilder, you don't have Neighbors. If a contender has Neighbors, the easy thing here, and I always say it, look at what they need. If you are rebuilding, if you are not in a position to contend, and you are willing to get Neighbors on your roster, again, for something like, if it's Devontae Adams and a Jordan Addison, I don't think that's going to get done in a lot of places, but I keep saying Devontae because he's that old wide receiver that is giving you production and kind of over exaggerating with the trade situation there. But if you can get something done because they now need wide receivers, or maybe they lost Burrow and they lost Lamar Jackson, who is going to be out at least for week 5, and they have Neighbors, maybe you have a plethora of quarterbacks that you could swing one their way and get Neighbors back in the process. So I think finding something that works for your trade partner is just as important as finding something that works for you.
Yeah, you get that contending roster that has Neighbors. I'm looking to see how I can help you out. Let me get the rest of the guys, and I'm going to position myself with an elite receiver next year. So be aggressive if the situation makes sense.
All right. So let's get through some actual trades here that were submitted to us through the DD Fantasy Football Discord. Go over to patreon.com/allgas. Get in the Discord community. You also get my cross positional tiers that you get bonus content. There's episodes on the stages there within the Discord community. It really is a fantastic resource and great conversations going 24/7. And make sure you hit like on this video. It helps out the old algorithm. Hit like and make sure you subscribe to the channel. So here are some trades. And again, I didn't want to do something that was like Puka Nacua for Malik Nabers straight up, or something that was just an easy within the position. So right here, 12x10. Mitch, I want to start with you.
Okay.
12x10 Superflex 2 PPR for tight end. This person was tanking, and the 2026 first is currently from a playoff team. So Mitch, you're getting Malik Nabers. You're getting a 27 second. Would you move Chris Olave, Jordan Addison, and a 26 first? Again, that 26 first is from a current playoff team.
See, just looking at it, I would be like, yeah, I want Neighbors. But having that extra 26 first, it gives me so much flexibility to where I don't really have that if I go out and pay market price for Neighbors right now. So when I am moving that extra first and I'm rebuilding, I would rather keep that pick and move on from there.
Okay, so even though you're giving up, you're getting a first round startup pick, You're not interested in this Olave, Addison, and a 26 first.
No, I want Olave, Addison, and the
No.
26 first.
But we in this scenario, the person that submitted this, they moved Olave, Addison, the 26 first.
Yeah, I'd want to keep the first.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to say the same there. You're giving up two players that could help any team. You could potentially get draft capital for them.
There's no market value on either of them, though.
Yeah, Saints are 0-4. What if they get a great quarterback next year and Olave actually has someone throwing to him one season from now? Addison's in a really good situation. And again, you're rebuilding. It's that first that just breaks me on that trade there. I don't want to give up that first also. If I could just tweak this trade a little bit, I'd want to negotiate a little bit more to get to Nabers without giving up that first.
I would be on the Nabers side here. Let us know in the comments if you're watching live here, if you're watching back on YouTube. In a 12x10, you're tanking, and the 26 first is from another team that's currently situated to be in the playoffs. Would you move Chris Olave, Jordan Addison, and that later 26 first for Malik Nabers and a 27?
4 weeks in, it's later. Let's just say it's 4 weeks on a playoff team.
I know.
Right now. The things can change.
I know. I'm just saying the way it's situated today. That's the context we were given. All right, Dan, let's start with you on this one. 12x10 Superflex. Half PPR. You're rebuilding. Would you, Dan Lamagna, move Rashee Rice and RJ Harvey for Malik Nabers? 12x10, half PPR rebuilding.
Not easily, but I would. I would go Nabers here. I'm maybe a little bit less high on Rice than Mitch. I like both Rice and Harvey. I still always think there's going to be a committee in Denver. I think they're trying to get that, Kamara Ingram of old. I don't think it's quite that. So I'll lean the elite receiver and Nabers for next year.
Review, always appreciate you. You're going Nabers easy. Jackson, always appreciate you. You're going RJ side.
See, that's why it's not easy.
Wait, Robert, Nabers easily. Scardy,
You don't
Rice.
know which one they're talking Nabers for. It could have been the previous trade.
It could have been.
Just saying. I'm going in a pure rebuild. I'm going Nabers. I would rather not have Rice if I'm just purely rebuilding.
I love the dynamic here because when I first saw this trade, I also thought Nabers. And I'm still thinking Nabers. It's a little more interesting with the half PPR because if you are in a half PPR league, the overall positional value when it comes to running backs, they are bolstered a little bit. But again, you're rebuilding, you are getting what should be that first round startup pick back in Malik Nabers. So I would go Nabers here.
Yeah. You watched Denver last night. The appeal to Harvey was getting peppered with those passes. So losing that half a point for him definitely takes some luster off that.
Here's the thing though, with the way the community here is going back and forth, and it's like every other comment is either one side or the other, that tells me it's a good trade.
That's all you could ask for.
And isn't that what we're all here for, to make good trades and just to have fun? We're all winners then, guys.
Just wait for the next trade. There's only one winner on the next trade. I'll guarantee you that right now.
All right.
Yeah, preach.
Yes. So this is a 14x12. And I apologize. I wish I would have had little graphics made up for these. Or at least put them as banners here. So bear with me. And I'm trying to repeat them as we go through them. But 14x12, start 2 quarterbacks, not Superflex. So 14x12, start 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. It's PPR. It's 2 PPR for tight end. This person was a contender, and Caleb is their only other quarterback that's not going to be mentioned in this trade. You receive Josh Allen, Cam Scattaboo, the legendary Quentin Johnston, and Kevontae Turpin. But you move Malik Nabers, JJ McCarthy, Amari Hampton, and Kyle Pitts. Mitch, what side are you on? Do you want
Allen.
Okay.
Josh Allen.
Well, with 28 must-start quarterbacks,
it's a 14 team with start 2 quarter. I want Josh Allen.
Yeah.
That is a smash. I mean, it even got QJ back, which, okay, sustain, but if it does sustain, that's pretty good. Hampton would be the only piece you miss.
Like, I thought about this, like Josh Allen for Nabers. I mean, from a point perspective, Nabers, JJ McCarthy, and Hampton, like that.
You're getting Josh Allen in a 14-team league, though. Like, I understand how the points work out.
No. I'm saying like Josh Allen could cover those three by himself.
Oh yeah, easy. I see what you're saying. Yep, agreed.
And then the way I was looking at it, Cam Scattaboo and QJ over Pitts, certainly. And if you want to throw Scat in the first part, whatever, and then Kevontae Turpin, I don't know. Maybe you're getting return points too. Who knows? All right. There's a little bit more to this next one.
I tried reading it, but it didn't make any sense.
It's a paragraph. It is a full-blown paragraph. 12 by 10, Superflex, tight end premium. This manager was a contender. They lost Joe Burrow. They lost Malik Nabers. The team still has Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, and Browning, and Mariota. They also have ETN. They also have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Marvin Harrison, George Pickens, T. Higgins, Darnell Mooney, and then at tight end, Kraft, Fannin, and Kincaid. And all their picks. One of the bottom teams in the standings. You know what? Hold on a sec.
No.
Hold
I can answer this. It's fine.
You're almost there, JB.
No, no. It's not for us.
Right to the show notes.
I'm just going right to the show notes. Let's see here. All right. It's not pretty, but there we go. 12 by 10. Let me fix our little, there you go. 12 by 10. Superflex, tight end premium, contender, lost Joe Burrow, Nabers. Team has Daniels, Penix, Browning, Mariota, ETN, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You can see it on the screen now. One of the bottom teams has Brian Thomas, JSN, May, T-Law, JJ McCarthy. Another of the bottom teams has Barkley, Lamar, AJ Brown, and Derrick Henry. Do you guys have any ideas for this manager?
The only window I saw was if we were talking earlier in the show about Nabers who would just trade straight up for, the one team has JSN. Is there like a JSN Drake May package there? Something that could happen? May would be to me an upgrade on, or at least the flex play, if you're worried about Daniel's health, and then Penix, Drake May could be very helpful. And then he gets JSN, something there. Too old, the other roster. No interest in having AJB or Henry next year.
I think Dan's pretty close to the only thing that I would do in this situation. It would be, I would be willing to add, like, if I still have my first, I'll throw my first on top of Burrow and Nabers in order to get JSN and May back. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I was looking at this. It's really tough for that first bottom team with Brian Thomas, JSN, May, T-Law, JJ McCarthy. Are they really in a rush to move most of those guys? Probably not. And do T-Law and JJ McCarthy give you an upgrade at the quarterback position from a point per game perspective? Not really. If Daniels is healthy and then Penix can be competent. So then it comes down to JSN. Like, I would love to bring JSN on. So could we do Nabers? Could we do Nabers and Penix for JSN and May?
No,
possibly. Depends what they feel about Penix, though, right? That's a tricky one.
No one's trading for Penix.
Probably don't want to
I'm
get
just
down
saying,
that
is it
road.
a possibility? But then we could look to go Burrow and Nabers. Could we do Burrow and Nabers for May, JSN, and a piece?
You're not getting a piece on top. You're adding.
You
getting
don't
a
think
piece.
so?
100%. Yeah, there's no way. You're adding a piece.
Okay. And then on the second team, could we do this, Dan, you said that it's too old. Like Derrick Henry, I'm not looking to bring him on. He's not even producing. AJ Brown, you get 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 games where he produces. Barkley hasn't truly been the difference maker. Lamar a little banged up. So I think there's more opportunities that I'd be interested in on that first team, but I don't know if they'd necessarily be looking to do it at all.
John, let me ask you real quick, because you might have looked, maybe you haven't. Where is Drake May right now, points per game wise, in a +4 league?
I mean, is he quarterback 6, somewhere around there?
Quarterback 4.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's
been
good.
Jalen Hurts. Yeah.
He's been very good.
Yeah. That's why I'm just saying, like, you're not getting anything added for Burrow, because Burrow, points per game wise wasn't even close.
Yeah, like I get it. I'm okay. All right. Way to piss my
but
cheaters,
I say that saying that I did move May share for Burrow. So I've been there, I've done that.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was a few weeks ago. My bad.
All right. Well, that's a conversation we can carry on in the Discord, because I know that person is in there, so we can definitely do that. All right. 12 by 10, Dan. 12 by 10, start 3 wide receivers as a week 14 trade deadline. This manager is 4-0. 89% chance to get a first round bye, according to Dynasty Daddy. Should they move Nabers or try something else, or just hold? So they have Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels. They have Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, and Tony Pollard. Outside of Malik Nabers, they have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas, Marv, T, Adams, Hawk. They got a 26 first. They have an extra 26 second, extra 27 first, extra 27 second. Again, the team: Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Jonathan Taylor, Breece, Pollard, Malik, Amon-Ra, Brian Thomas, Marv, T, Adams. Like, I think I'd rather try to pivot from Brian Thomas, maybe.
Oh, just move some of your picks. You're fine. That's what I would do.
Thank you. Do you like how he asked me the question, Mitch, and then he just answered it himself? Yeah,
a little bit.
You got it, JB. You're locked in right now. You were feeling that one, but I agree with you. You both. I definitely agree with Mitch. Like, that roster could win without Nabers. I mean, Sun God, it's kind of like a humble brag, this roster here. Sun God, Brian Thomas. I know there's some Brian Thomas concerns, but Marv, T, Adams, I think he plays the matchups well. I might move a second. The only thing I'm a little worried about is Jaden Daniels. You'd want to have him and Allen in that Superflex to be a really strong team. But hopefully he's even coming back this weekend. We'll see. But that roster's loaded. It's too early, too. He could easily move a pick later on if he needs to.
Like, if anything, I would love to do, like, Mitch, what would you add to Brian Thomas or Marv pick-wise to get your boy, Puka Nacua? All of the picks.
Yeah, I would add everything, but no joke. Puka is that good. I mean, if I could move Marv, well, let's just say T. Let's just say somehow it's T, right? You can move T and your 2 first for Puka. I would do that in a heartbeat. Like, I would, no hesitation.
Ooh, that seems
a sweet
heavy.
offer.
That seems
it's not really peppy though. Puka is the wide receiver 1.
Here's the thing, Mitch. Though I got a maybe semi-challenge flag there. Like, your take on Puka is spot on, but he still has a very old quarterback. Like, is Puka, like, just, like, don't get me wrong, I'd pay a lot for him. You want to win now, and I think Puka's should be good for a while. But we've talked about how Rams, they've run their star players into the ground a little bit. Now, hopefully, they've got a little more breadth, a little more depth on offense this year, where they're not doing it as much. But that's a hefty offer there, man. A stud receiver and 2 firsts.
The T's not really a stud at this point, but I'm going to counter your challenge flag.
Just not Marv.
And just put this out here, because people do worry about the Rams, that quarterback situation. Do you think for 1 second they won't mortgage like 3 future picks in order just to get whoever the next Baker Mayfield, whatever quarterback is out there? They will,
especially if McVay is still there.
CJ Stroud,
that's the key.
That's the thing. I think they will mortgage anything to keep getting, just to have a good, solid quarterback. But no, I could see it. Dude, here's my thing. Would you pay that for Justin Jefferson, 2 first and T Higgins?
Yeah. And I guess as long as it's T and not Marv, I think that's an important piece for me there. Because I do think there's a difference. So T and 2 first, I guess so. Yeah, I would do it.
All right. Well, I don't think we're going to get through the 7 other trades I have lined up here. But again, every conversation within the Discord has been centered around Malik Nabers. I don't remember, even with Joe Burrow, like people were more willing to get that Stafford, get that Aaron Rodgers, whoever it was, to backfill the position, or they just built a little bit differently. Whereas we're seeing so many people that really want to move Malik Nabers to continue to contend. If you take anything away from this, at least from me, it is exhaust your other options before just moving Nabers to make this work for 2025. Get other assets on your roster that you can still get that production while holding on to Nabers, because he is going to recoup that value. As long as there is not a setback along the way for him, as long as there's not, he had to have 10 additional surgeries, whatever the case may be, he's going to bounce back from a value perspective. Now, do you believe that aligns with what we're going to see production-wise when he's with Jackson Dart in 2026 and beyond? That's another conversation. But, I think you can make this work while still having Malik Nabers on your roster, and you have him in your back pocket as the season progresses. Maybe more injuries pop up. Maybe some players aren't producing. Maybe your season is just looking a little bit differently than you would have liked. Then maybe you look for that opportunity, but you don't need to do it right now.
Agreed. And I think hopefully we accomplished here tonight on International Podcast Day. Hopefully this goes international because people are playing fantasy football everywhere, right? Is whether it's Nabers, hey, we encourage activity in leagues. We gave a lot of different scenarios of what you could do, whether you have or don't have, or you're a contender or rebuilder with Nabers. But it's an episode that could last a little bit of the test of time because there's going to be other top receiver injuries that are going to happen. Tyreek Hill went down this week, even though he's a little bit older. This situation, we hope it never happens again, but it probably will.
And again, I know there were so many comments and trade questions that we did not get to tonight, but the chat was absolutely incredible. So we want to thank everybody for being active and taking part. Hopefully you all enjoyed this week's episode of Dynasty Theory. Could have talked about Malik Nabers by himself for probably a couple more hours, but we're gonna let these guys get on with their evenings. I know Mitch and Dan, they get angry with me if they get held up here at all. But hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and check out patreon.com/allgas. Discord community, cross-positional tiers, a lot of good stuff there. For Mitch Sorensen, Dan Lamagna, I'm John Bauer. Catch everybody next week. Peace.